Hi, this is Laurie Yoon from Dutty Branch. This is my vlog for Albatross Level C2 Class Lesson 1. So this week the students are asked to design a book cover for a memoir for a famous person, and that's then to be presented to a publishing company. The students are to illustrate the special opportunities, family history, and career highlights of this famous person through symbols and pictures. Being the first day, I do see some time constraints. On the first day, the students have to do a lesson called Break the Ice. This usually takes about 20 minutes in the first class to get the students familiar with the tab, the functions, especially when we have students that are new to class. Also, we want the students to get to know each other and get to know the teacher. Secondly, students most likely have not had a chance to read the book yet, Idea Man by Paul Allen. And the Albatross level is a lot different than the Eagle level book, Outliers. Outliers, you could almost read the chapters separately and be okay. Whereas with Idea Man, I do feel being a memoir, each chapter is connected and they build off of each other. The events from Paul Allen's life that are mentioned in one chapter might be mentioned again in another chapter. So I think it's important to build a good foundation of knowledge about Idea Man. And to do that, you have to kind of go over the different technical terms. Otherwise, when the students try to read the book at home, I could imagine many of them getting really overwhelmed and they might not want to continue reading. And lastly, a time constraint would be due to the students having to access the media library 2 times. On page 2, they have to go and search about Paul Allen, and then again on page 10 for the research. Therefore, having to research specific aspects about a successful or famous person's life and then having to decide on what their factors for success were, I think it seems a little ambitious for being the first class. So rather than making a project about a real person, I'm going to ask my students to make it about an imaginary person. The benefits of this are it'll give the students more creative freedom and it'll save time, I believe, from 2 things. One, not having to decide on what famous person to do the research on, and 2, not having to do the research and then analyze that data. Also, I'm going to add 2 extra steps to the project prompt for this lesson. The second step will be to create a portfolio page, much like the one in Idea Man before the first chapter begins, to give a quick biography of the imaginary person in a creative way. So in the portfolio, I want them to, number 1, tell me who this person is, number 2, what this person does for a living or what this person owns, number 3, where this person lives. And they can go about this in about 3-4 sentences. Finally, the second thing that I'm adding to the project is a contents page to show the chapters within their imaginary memoir. And I want at least 3 chapters to creatively show the imaginary person's family history, special opportunities, and career highlights. I'm going to ask the students to explain each chapter in about 2 to 3 sentences. The materials that I'll ask the students to use are EssNote. On EssNote, there's a magazine function which allows students to combine graphics with text, or the students can use Polaris Office and do it that same way, whichever the students are more comfortable. But I'm also going to prepare some paper, crayons, and pencils for the students in case they want to actually just hand draw it and then take a picture of it and show that on the television that way. A couple of extra tips to help the students understand the terms and prepare them to read Idea Man. On page 2 of the CSLP book, after discussing the quote from the portfolio, I will create a media card that asks the students what is an operating system, such as Microsoft Windows. Now, most students in Korea should know and be familiar with Windows, and they should be able to make that connection. Now, on page 16, there is a lot of technical terms there that I found very useful with some images. So I've screen captured that, and I've put that on the back of the media card as the answer. That way I can transmit it to the students. They can review that when they go home, and especially when they're reading the Idea Man for future chapters. It'll be a point of reference for them. Then on the discussion part, before the students have to research Paul Allen, I'm going to fast forward to page 15 on the CSLP book to view Paul Allen's timeline. And I'm going to use the images in the timeline to preview what the book's going to be about. Also, on page 5 of the CSLP book, after question 1, students might not know what software is. So again, I've created a media card asking what is software. I'm going to try to elicit some examples of computer programs that students already know and then hopefully make a link there. The second question I've made is how do you make software? So I've screen captured programming language definition from page 16, and I'll put that on the back of that media card for the answer, again transmitting that to the students. Then on question 4, why did Paul Allen move to Boston? It was to create BASIC for the Altair. So I've created another media card asking them what is Altair. On the back of this media card, I've screen captured the definition of microcomputers, again from page 16. And the second question, what is BASIC? Again, I've screen captured programming language as the answer. On page 10, it asks the students to research about the topic, but I thought this was a little too general because we've already researched about Paul Allen on page 2, so I thought I would use this as an opportunity to get the students to better understand what a memoir is. Finally, after the quote from page 2 of the Idea Man book, where it discusses Moore's law in relation to technological advances, I'm going to ask the students what is the significance of the quote, and then discuss and get them to understand that technology in its fast pace of advance creates more competition for the industry and therefore makes the technology cheaper for the clients so that they kind of understand what's going on. I've also created another media card. It's a multiple choice card asking the students what influences that other technologists had on Paul Allen. And I've taken various ideas from within the assigned reading pages for the first lesson. I think it's a cool starting point to kind of gather all the different ideas from within the chapter that discuss Paul Allen's character and get a discussion going there. That'll get them prepped for the remaining lessons. Anyways, I hope this project works out, and I will update you guys on how it went afterwards.